Welcome guys to this YouTube video, and it's going to be all about how to manage a travel day, how to manage a flight day. Okay, we're going to chat about the actual flight day itself, what we can do to stay on track, give ourselves the best chances of staying on track, but also the days before, the days after, everything around it, but also mindset, essentially everything you need to put in the and get in the best position possible to see the results that you want around your normal flying schedule with work. We're going to chat about today. All right, so a lot of men in our industries where we have to fly, we have to travel regionally or internationally, we have to the time and place where the progress goes out the window is not always the weekends. It predominantly is days where we're spending full days, hours and hours, potentially more than a full day, in situations that are out of our control, or we have less control. We don't have consistency, and we can't always, particularly decide what we want to eat. We can't always stay very active, these kind of things. So it's important that we discuss this and we prepare in a way. Within the program, we use the 3P method, the planning pillar. It's very important to get really clear on how to stay on track and stay as close as we can to continue to take steps forward. All right, so the airport days, flights, delays, and these things, they are inevitable, and so we need to learn how to handle them. Yeah, because that's often where the structure we have that we can implement when we're at home disappears. All right, and it's not like all our progress is going to go out the window. We just need to change things, right? It's not uncontrollable. We just need to adapt the plan and also make sure our expectations are realistic in this situation. So this video is the complete system on how to manage everything around a flight travel day. All right, so we're going to get into it. The first thing I wanted to touch on is the whole mindset around it. Okay, and it's very important because this changes everything. It's important to get this mindset in the right place, and the travel days are not out of our control. We are just in a different environment that requires slightly different approach. Yeah, the rules don't change in terms of what will help us lose body fat, what will help us improve our mental health, our physical health. Our approach just has to change ever so slightly. Yeah, so the key mindset points here are that we should expect things to go wrong. We should expect delays. We should expect to not be able to get that high protein lean meal that we would usually have. We should expect timings to be all over the place, yeah? To not have access to everything we need in any given moment. And we should plan for flexibility and not perfection, yeah? So we want to control everything we can control, not focus or fuss about the things that are out of our control and just ignore what we can't control, okay? And just manage it the best we can. But the important thing is we draw that line and we understand where that line is, yeah? And every successful travel day is proof that you can become more consistent, and it's proof because the progress will continue. Yeah, we will be able to build some momentum, which is the first thing that a lot of guys that travel lack, the ability to build momentum to actually see some longer term results instead of results for a couple of weeks and then falling back in 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Yeah, and this is where most men fall. But you can use this to your advantage by getting clear on how we adapt the plan, how to adapt our mindset to make sure we continue to move forward, right? So the first section of the travel day we're going to go over or the travel experience, is that day before, yeah? And this is where if we put ourselves in a good position, we can really set ourselves up for success throughout the course of the next kind of, say, 48 hours. So most guys think that it is the day itself that is where the mistakes happen. But if we set ourselves up in that process to deliver what we need to do because we've thought about it beforehand, that is where the success starts, at least, right? So the key things that I want you to do, make sure we're doing on the day leading up to it, the day prior to your travel, is hydrate properly. 2.5, 3+ liters of water, sparkling water, whatever it is, but fluids, yeah? We need to hit our calories. We have a day where we have more control, whether we are, I'm assuming we're at home and we're going away on a work trip, we have more control, and so we want to get as accurate as we possibly can in regard to our calories, our protein, our fiber, right? We don't want 2 bad days in a row. We never want 2 bad days in a row. And so if tomorrow is going to be more tricky and it involves some management in the days after, if things are more difficult, we want to start on a good foot, start on a positive day, and then manage things, yeah? We don't want that momentum to build in the opposite way. The last thing we want to do as well is get out the mindset of saving calories the day before to allow for overconsumption at the airport lounge, these kind of things. It almost gives yourself a way out, a let off, yeah? We can take our foot off the gas. But it also will inevitably, and a lot of the guys that join the program and a lot of guys I speak to, under-eating throughout the day always leads to overeating at night. And so if we then overconsume at night, we snack, things get out of control, that mood and our mindset on the first morning of that travel day is going to be terrible, yeah? And it's going to lead to an even more kind of fuck it moment, right? We want to try and get some extra steps in because we know we're going to be sat down probably more than the average day, potentially, depending on the length of the flight, the length of the travel to the airport, all this kind of stuff. But we don't want to risk the activity level, right? So if we can get out and do a few extra steps in the morning, absolutely ideal. If we can get out in the evening before we head to bed, if we've got to go to bed early for an early flight, we want to just be as active as we can, all right? And consciously make that decision when we have a bit more time and a bit more flexibility to do that. And we want to try and prep some snacks. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be a perfect meal prep in a Tupperware. It can just be a couple of pieces of fruit, a protein shake in a shaker or in just like a plastic sandwich bag, protein bar, anything like that, some sort of prepped snack that's going to help satisfy us in a given moment where we could potentially make a poor decision. That's what we want. And the big kind of takeaway in regards to the day before is we're trying to reduce the decisions that we then have to make in the moment. Yeah, we want to reduce the number of decisions before they happen. Going into the morning of the flight, all right? Biggest mistake that I hear from the guys, and it's something I could never do because I'm a breakfast person. If I've got a 5 a.m. flight and I'm up at 4 a.m. to go to the airport, I'm having some food before. We cannot skip breakfast. And I'm not saying it has to be at 4 a.m. at home or in the hotel before you go, but we have to have something before we get on that flight, yeah? Ideally, if we can have it before we get to the hotel, before we get to the airport, before we're in a situation where we have less control, we do that. And that's kind of how we want to start the day, by getting something high protein, very high protein, predominantly protein, and fibrous, okay? So whatever that looks like, it might be an omelette with lots of greens. It might be kind of protein powder with yogurt, berries, lots of fiber, these kind of things because on a travel day, inevitably we might struggle to get our required amount of protein in because it's harder when we're eating on the go. And so getting as much as we can in the morning, it's going to be perfect. Okay, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to hit our overall daily goal. Because again, as I said, the fundamentals don't change. We just need to adapt our approach ever so slightly. And if that means getting a bit more protein in the morning, then so be it, right? And it will also help us stay nice and full for the first half of the day. In terms of other things we can do, because skipping breakfast will lead to poor decisions later. Everybody experiences it, and whether it was before the program or now, if they aren't prepared enough or it's too early of a flight, it does lead to poor decisions, right? And we want to try and stick to our normal structured anchor meals Whether that is something we pick up at the airport, we've identified, and we try and use these regularly in terms of a meal at, from a restaurant or a takeaway place that you usually go to, which has a good amount of protein and fills you up and is satisfying. We want to try and stick to familiar things, all right? And again, this can be something that is prepped and taken to the airport with us, but it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be complicated. But the key principle to start your day in control will then keep you in control, right? We have to start the day in control, start as we mean to go on, yeah? And that, if that requires 10 minutes of thought and prep the night before, then so be it. If it's going to keep you on track for half the day the next day, it is important if you are serious about losing body fat. The next part, airport strategy, okay, is where most guys fail. We're trapped in a confined space with 1,000,001 options in terms of food and drink, with hours to spare and time to kill, yeah? The airport here isn't necessarily the problem though. Our mindset is. Having all of this stuff available to us is a trap. It is a trap. There's no other way to put it. And we can go into treat mode, into holiday mode, right? Pastries, beers with the colleagues you're traveling with, snacks. Because we're traveling, we have to pick up snacks. This is a tradition. This is, I need to eat something, so I may as well grab this when you know it's going to wipe out your daily calories. So the approach that we want is to treat it like any normal day, any normal meal, stick to the same structure, build it around a lean protein source, plenty of high fiber, high volume foods to include, ask for extra salad, ask for extra veg, these kind of things, and a controlled portion of carbs, yeah? We need to find that balance wherever we're having the meal, yeah? And so quick wins that we can try and achieve and look for and identify and tick off when we're at the airport is by having a water bottle we can fill up. So we've constantly got something to, satisfy us, add volume, fill us up, keep us hydrated. Walk instead of sitting as much as you can. Just because you're there 2 hours before your flight, they want you to sit and eat and consume and buy, right? So we want to use this time wisely. If you were at home, you'd use that as a good half an hour of steps. Why would you not do that in the airport? You may look a bit funny, but get it done. Get up, get moving. If you're replying to emails, on calls, whatever it is, watching something on Netflix or YouTube, get walking, get some steps in. Split your time half and half. Sit down, enjoy a coffee or something. Enjoy some food, but make sure you get some sort of activity in. As I said earlier, bring in some snacks that you like, what they contain, how many calories, controlled, they can fill you up. You don't necessarily have to bring them from home, but in general, we'll have a good idea of these snacks we enjoy, we regularly pick up. So why would we do anything different? We stick to them. The fruits you enjoy, a protein bar you enjoy, these kind of things. All right? Drinks, snacks, and decisions. Things like coffee, really useful, suppresses our appetite. A black coffee obviously has next to no calories in it. It provides us with energy. Obviously, if we're on a late flight, probably not sensible, but coffee can be really helpful. Alcohol is one in airports for some reason, because we're in an airport about to go on a flight, even when it's for work, it feels like a suitable moment to have a beer. I've never quite understood it, especially when it's obscenely early. Cut it out if we don't need it. If we get, and we're in the evening, we're enjoying a social evening with some clients, absolutely fine. With some colleagues, absolutely fine. Have a beer. Obviously controlled, manage it. Don't go overboard. And if we do, don't expect crazy results the next day. Alcohol will then lead to poor decisions as a result as well. We always go for some food. We always get some snacks when we've had some drinks. And it's something we have to be careful of. And guys I speak to on a regular basis say, oh, but a couple of drinks isn't going to hurt. And I'm like, no, but what does that lead to? You have to be aware of that. Sugary drinks, Very easy to consume a hefty amount of calories through sugary drinks, okay, just like with alcohol. Sneaky calories that we don't need, and we can opt for the 0 calorie options. They taste exactly the same. Get over yourself. Diet Coke, Coke Zero, it tastes exactly the same. And actually, I've drunk so much of that, when I go back to normal Coke, it just tastes too sugary. It's awful, all right? So 0 calorie sodas, these kind of things are fine. Stop worrying about artificial sweeteners, not something you need to concern yourself with. But just be careful with those liquid calories, all right? Snack rule, bring your own if you can. Don't always rely on there being good options, right? In massive airports these days, you're gonna be able to find good options. They are hefty when it comes to the price tag, but it's not something that you should rely on. If you know you have snacks that you enjoy, don't rely on them being available in the airport. Bring them yourself. And it just doesn't waste any time. You don't have to make any more decisions. It's already made, you've got what you need, and you can deliver. Yeah? Right, in-flight strategy. This is where we're going next. First thing, hydration. We get very dehydrated on a flight. The air is very dry, and being dehydrated will lead to snacking, will lead to feeling hungry. And I know, and I've been there, I want to drink as little as possible because I don't want to have to go off and go for a wee, right? It's a pain in the ass, especially if you're not on the aisle seat. But this is more important. Being hydrated so we don't snack uncontrollably, so we're not always reaching for something to satisfy us, is very important, okay? Aim for maybe 250 ml per hour. Don't settle for those little cups that the steward, that the cabin crew give you. Ask for more, have your bottle. I always buy a big bottle before I get on the flight from the WH Smith or whatever shops there are, okay? Don't rely on the cabin crew to bring you enough. Ask if you need to. Simple trick is to drink every time you check your phone, right? We're gonna be always on our phone, inevitably. We're probably on our phone constantly watching something or doing emails. If we can make sure to maybe like link those two things together, and then it starts to feel a bit more natural, right? It starts to feel, it just happens automatically, right? But hydration is a big one. And also, if we can take some like electrolyte sachets, they're good for two reasons. They will help keep us really hydrated, but they will also, you can get a nice flavored one, it will satisfy the sweet tooth, yeah? And that instead of going for the chocolate, the whatever it is, whilst we're on the flight, from the menu, the free snacks, we can get that sweet tooth craving curbed by an electrolyte sachet, okay? Movement, sitting obviously is inevitable on the flight, right? But if we can get up, walk up and down a little bit, and actually move our bodies a little bit, we're gonna feel far less groggy when we arrive at the destination, yeah? Try and stand every hour if we can. You might, again, if you're not sat on the aisle, you might annoy some of the people around you, but what's more important here? Sticking to your diet, seeing the results that you want, or like someone just getting a little bit annoyed with you? Is a no-brainer, really, isn't it? Walk up and down the aisle if you need to. People don't care. Stop worrying what other people think, which is something I've been there. I definitely have thought about it, and I'm sure everybody has, right? Simple movement, calf raises, go up on your tippy toes, these kind of things, but just getting some steps in. You'll be surprised how many you can accumulate over like a 5-hour flight if you get up every hour and just do a little bit of movement. Yeah, and as I said, it makes a huge difference to how you feel when you arrive in destination and you finish your travel day, and that is huge for the decisions we then make in terms of meals and kind of how we finish the day. Food decisions, even if something's free on a flight, the in-flight meal, the snacks that come with it, that you get offered all the time, just like the airport lounge situation, which I'm going to make another video on separately to this, but you don't have to eat everything, right? And I just filmed a reel for my Instagram talking about how to, or the fact that when your in-flight meal comes, You don't need everything. It's made of a tray of 5 or 6 different components. Your main meal, a yogurt, pastry, a treat, yeah, a drink, some bread. If there is something on there immediately that you don't feel like you need, don't think about it, don't question it. Ask for it to be taken away. Give it back to them and say, I don't need this. Give it back to them and say, give it to somebody else. All right? The more you sit with it in front of you, the harder it's going to be to not consume it. All right? So don't think, just make that split second decision and roll with it. Okay? Make it as easy for yourself as possible. Prioritize protein, prioritize the veg, skip the bread rolls, the pastries, these kind of things that are unnecessary. Unless you feel confident that you can eat it, you can track it to the best of your ability, we account for it. And if it means that our meal in the evening or when we arrive is going to have to be slightly smaller, then and you're confident you can deliver on that, then that's absolutely fine. But it's just making it as easy as possible. So when we get later in the day and we have to kind of, we're in a position where it's more difficult to make that decision because we're tired, we're feeling groggy, we're stressed, we're in a different location, we want to allow ourselves to have a sufficient meal, right? Big one is boredom eating, and everybody will suffer from this. And like you're not hungry, you're just bored, you're looking for something to do, and on a flight, it's very boring, especially a long haul flight. Yeah. So ask yourself in that moment, am I hungry? The drink kind of the thirst check, right? If you're hungry, you've had your meal, drink a load of water, half a litre, some sparkling water is even better for giving you that sensation of feeling full. And then wait 10 minutes and see if you're still feeling hungry, right? The next section is that post-flight reset, which we're going to go into, okay? And it's a hugely important part because at this point, we've had most of the day, we've either made some good or bad decisions, we want to finish off the day in a way that will mean that any hard work, any good decisions we've made up until now are not going to be pointless, okay? These are the moments when we're tired, we're in a new location, that we are going to struggle, and it's where the discipline is required. It's when we're going to have to remember why we're doing this, why it's important for us to stick with this and continue to stick at it, and who that's benefiting, us, who else, these kind of things. All right, this is where it will go right or it will go wrong. All right, we need to, as soon as we land, as soon as we arrive in our destination, we need to do some sort of movement immediately. Doesn't have to be a lot. And it can be around the airport, as we're walking out, as we're coming out, while we're waiting for our bag to come through, or it can be when we arrive at the hotel, the office. We need to do some sort of movement. 2,000 steps, maybe, as a minimum, right? That doesn't take long, 15 minutes. And as I said, take the steps instead of escalators, all these little things that add up to add some steps on. But some sort of movement. In an ideal world, if we can get a gym session done, a quick gym session, some sort of go out for a little jog, something like that, you will feel 10 times better, I'm telling you, okay? It is difficult in that moment, but it's one of those catch-22s where it's super hard, but when you've done it, it will be so rewarding and you'll feel fantastic, yeah? We need to also rehydrate aggressively. We need to get, I'd say, a litre of water in within the first hour after landing. We don't want any dehydration, any kind of, to have that knock-on effect, to linger, to affect our evening decisions when it comes to food, all right? We want to reduce the bloating, the fatigue, the hunger that we may feel as a result of any dehydration. Because often we're gonna not drink enough on the flight, we need more than we think we need, okay? Big thing here is that first meal after we arrive in destination, okay? It needs to be high protein because inevitably what we've been served in the airport or on the flight isn't going to be as high protein as we would like it to be. Ideally, in an ideal world, it will be familiar. We will have eaten from this place before. We can keep it nice and simple. We can identify all the ingredients. We can track it to the best of our ability. And it's just an easy decision to make. It doesn't require a lot of thought. When we are set with a decision to make, that requires a lot of thinking, a lot of decisions, a lot of components to be kind of put together. That's when the effort doesn't feel worth it, and we make a poor decision. Yeah, because we just think, fuck it, I'm tired. Examples: a kind of burrito bowl style meal. Yeah, lots of veg, lots of salad, some rice, and some chicken. Yeah, a lean wrap, a wrap with lots of salad, bulked out by some kind of coleslaw and salad and chicken, these kind of things. Simple but effective. Yeah, and at the end of the day, just because we're traveling, we still want to try and remain accountable. The philosophy that I work by with all my clients is when we can be accurate with our food consumption, our food tracking, we are, and when we can't, we still do it to the best of our ability, but without the pressure to be 100% perfect. But if we can put ourselves in a position to be as perfect as we can, you're going to be getting the best results, right? It comes down to you. If you can be more accurate, but you're just not bothering because it seems like a bit of effort, if you have the capacity to be, then you can't expect the perfect results. If you genuinely don't have the time, the capacity, you're too tired, you just need to get something in and estimate it, then that is fine. But again, we have to be realistic and manage our expectations, whether we're making the best possible decision we can or not. All right? In an ideal world, I know it's hard, especially after long flights, getting a good sleep, a good rest, resetting our routine is going to be really, really important for the coming days. Yeah. So we want to adapt to that time zone immediately. It makes a massive difference. And there's apps out there, I believe one's called Time Shifter, and it basically helps you manage the jet lag by telling you when to sleep, when to be active, when to have caffeine, these kind of things on your travel day. Then we can do that. All right. But we just want to try and get a good sleep in. All right. We want to, if it's dark, we want to go to bed. We want our body to adjust to the time zone we're in, our circadian rhythm, to get used to where we are. And this is only, an issue if we're traveling far and there's a big time difference, but not staying up for the sake of it. Go to bed and try and get good rest. Yeah. And if it's a short trip, stay on your home time if possible. Yeah. Because then inevitably when you go back, we want to be straight into things as easy as possible as well. Yeah. The big thing here, the big lesson I want you to take away from this information, from how to tackle a travel day, is that flying, it's important that we kind of set our expectations in the right place, right? We can go into a travel day with the different mindsets, with different goals. If we genuinely feel like I just want to manage and maintain where I am, that is fine. It's much easier. However, we can go into it with the idea of still seeing progress. And the first positive flight day experience we get under our belt, the better. We'll see some results. We'll see the continued progress we haven't been able to before. And then it gets easier every time, right? Because we know what to do and what results that can cause and what results we didn't get before, right? But it doesn't pause the progress, these flight days. It just tests it, right? And if you're as competitive as I am, you're up to the test, you're up to the challenge, and I'm willing to do what it takes. So the key message is, you can't control the flight, the delays, the food options available, but what you can control is your mindset, how you attack the day, whether you put any thought into it beforehand, and the decisions that we make that we cannot pre-make, right? The preparation that you put into a day like this doesn't have to be a lot, but the more we do, the more successful the day is going to go, right? So I've got a guide that covers all of this. If you would like to have a copy of that guide, I can send you over a copy, send you the link. all you need to do is DM me the word flight on Instagram at Jacob Connock Coach, and I will send you straight over a copy of this guide that I have, right? But if you can stay consistent on travel days, you can stay consistent anywhere. So trying to master these days, something I know all the guys in the program, all the guys I speak to, all the guys I come across on Instagram really, really struggle with this. But if we can master this, if we can stay consistent and even just stop ourselves from going backwards, this is where the big shift happens and things become easier. We get more confident in our abilities, more confident in our approach, and we just see the long-term results that we want because we can maintain some momentum and it doesn't keep shooting ourselves in the foot and killing any momentum we had, right? This is what separates the guys who stay stuck from the guys who get in shape with this travel-heavy lifestyle, right? The guys who commit to doing something and making positive decisions instead of accepting that this is difficult and what will be, yeah? So as I said, drop me the word flight over on Instagram if you want that guide, want me to send you a copy of that guide. And if you have any ideas or thoughts on aspects of your work travel that you would like assistance on, that you would like value provided for on my podcast, YouTube, then drop it down in the comments. And yeah, follow me on Instagram at Jacob Connock Coach for plenty more tips. Subscribe on here and hit like if you enjoyed that video.